Hey, g'day guys. I'm doing a bit of a Q&A today, some questions that I've had through in the last few weeks. I've already done the vid and it came out terrible. I tried to do some last night and some this morning and the lighting was all off and it looks terrible. So I've decided just to take the audio and get rid of the vision of me. You know what I look like anyway, you don't need to see anymore. So yeah, the video goes for quite a while, so it's probably not one you really need to watch, probably more inclined to put it on your phone, pair of earphones in and just lay down if you've got some time, rather than sit there and watch it, because it goes for near on 30 minutes, this vid, so a bit of a long one. Some of the questions I had, first one was about automatic stop losses and what I do when one turns into a disaster. And I'll talk about a case back in September 11, 2001, if you remember that date, when I owned some QBE shares and what happened with them. So it's an interesting subject. I don't set stop losses, so you've got to have some sort of protocol in place. So that was the first question. Second question, a guy asked me about crypto, and I give my views on crypto. I just lay it out what I really think of crypto. So anyway, everyone's got their own views on that. It's fairly contentious. It's pretty hard to have a rational discussion, I find, with some people about crypto, because they believe in it so much, almost like a religion to some people. So anyway, I'll talk about crypto. Third question is just about franking credits, and I'll give a bit of a what I think they are, and I'm not sure if it was very helpful, to be honest, but yeah, they're something you need to know about. I think Google is probably better than me for that. And the fourth question about women CEOs, with it being International Women's Day recently. We don't have many women CEOs, and a young lady asked me about that. So that was just 4 questions I did. The video's there. I'll put it on now. Cheers, guys. Hey, g'day guys. It's been a while since I've done a vid. I've had a very eventful week. I don't want to be a hypochondriac at all, but I've been to the doctor more this week than I've been ever, I think. 4 trips in the last, starting last Friday and up to today. So that week I've been to the doctor 4 times. So I'll tell you what happened. On Friday I had really bad ears, just sore ears, which I get occasionally. I don't know if you've ever had it, but just full of wax basically. So I went to the doctor and I was going to get him to syringe them out, but he gave me some what do they call it, Waxol or something, to soften the wax before he cleaned it out. So I was putting that in over the weekend, and by the time I got to Tuesday to go back to him so he could clean them out, I was like in agony. My ears were infected, or what do they call it? I had an ear infection, and he syringed them out. It was that painful. I was in agony as he was syringing them out. So basically I've been in bed all week with an ear infection in both ears, like really bad. I was crook as a dog from it. And on top of that, I was walking my little dog on Monday morning. This is before I started feeling too sick. And another dog tried to attack him down the park. And I got in front of this blue heeler and it cannoned into my leg and damaged my knee. So I can barely walk at the moment. So I've been in the wars. So that's why I haven't done a vid this week. But anyway, I'm getting better now on some good antibiotics, and knee's still sore, but I'm getting better every day. So what this vid is going to be about, it's just a question and answer. I'm just going to answer a few questions that people have asked over the last few weeks, just that I've got personally to on the YouTube page or my Facebook page, or to my email and to my Snapchat. I've had one as well. So yeah, I'll just go through, answer a few questions, and see how the vid comes out. It's Friday night here. I'm just looking at the market now. Interesting week for me. Obviously, it's been pretty volatile with old Trumpy boy, shooting off. So I had a pretty tough week myself. If you remember my last or my end of month vid where I spoke about the 3 shares, Kogan, Novarti, and Shiro, or however you say it. I'm actually in all of them now. I bought them all in the dip, and I must say, Kogan, which I bought at 8.56, it went down way more than that. Went down to, I think it's 7.60 something, so about almost another $1. So I hung in there. It's back up to 8.77. I think it closed today. So just a little in front, but I'll actually be taking profits fairly soon on this. Seeing I timed it so badly, I'm not going to make as much out of it as I would hope, if I make anything. I'm still in the trade, so we'll see. But I'll probably be selling, get out maybe about the 9.20 mark on these ones, and be thankful to do so if they get there. Novarti I timed a bit better. I bought it at 25 cents, but they're fairly illiquid, so I'm not sure if that's a good buy yet or not. I think they're about 26.5 now. Yeah, I'll probably try and ride these. I'm thinking to about 35 cents if possible, so we'll see on that one. And the other one I bought, Shiro, I bought at $1.48, and I think they're around $1.35, somewhere around there at the moment, so I'm down a fair heap on them. So we'll see how they go. I quite like the little business, and I'm not exactly sure. I haven't been fully up to date on why they've dropped so much, if there's a reason. But yeah, so that's the 3 for this month so far. We'll keep on them, see how they end up. Okay, so I'm going to answer a few viewer questions tonight, and I'll probably finish the vid tomorrow because the light is really shit. And sorry about the light, and actually the video's a bit low as well. I should just poke it up a little bit. There we go, a bit better. But the light is shocking. I've got to sit closer. Okay, so the first question, I didn't write the name down. Oh well, no name sent me this question. Hey mates, if you don't set automatic stop losses, what happens when you get caught with a rapidly falling stock? Very good question to whoever sent it to me. I have done a video about what makes me sell, but I've been caught many a time with a stock that either I've been wrong on it and they've just gone down rapidly, or something has happened that's changed the fundamentals of the business and sent the stock plummeting, and some things that you just can't really prepare for. I remember, I'll tell you a story about a stock that I was in, QBE, and I don't like QBE now, and I wouldn't be buying it these days, but this was back in 2001. I was in QBE, and the day was September 11th, I think it was. And now from memory, QBE closed at about $10, roughly $10 a share on September 11th in 2001. That night, my wife and I went out for dinner. We were out and about anyway, and I remember we were driving home about 8:30, 9 o'clock, listening to the radio, listening to the talkback radio, 6PR at the time. Graham Mabry, I think, was on. And they started talking about a plane had run into a tower, one of the World Trade Center towers, which is a bit of a disaster. Didn't think too much of it. Obviously, it was a fairly big deal. We're driving along. 15 minutes later, they say on the radio, another plane has hit another tower. And I remember the first words out of my mouth were Osama bin Laden. He was number one menace at the time. So that's what I thought, and maybe it turned out I was right. It's fairly obvious. Anyway, so the September 11 attacks happened that night. And my poor little QBE shares, being an insurance share, I don't know if the market opened the next day. I can't remember whether it was closed for a few days, but I do know when they opened, they were basically down 70% when they opened. So they went from, say, $10 to $3 when they opened again. And really, I remember I was gutted because I had a few of them, and it was, represented a fair chunk of my fortune, and there was really nothing I could do. It was just unlucky, just completely unlucky. So I've never forgiven Osama since that day, and it's going to happen. It's going to happen again. I'm going to be in the stock, you're going to be in the stock, and something happens that you have absolutely no control over, and that's trading. You got to make a decision. I guess just to be quick, the 3 reasons I sell a stock is I hit my price target. So that's the first reason. I want to sell at a certain price. It gets there, so I sell. And that's at a gain, not at a loss. The second reason is it doesn't do anything, and I'll give a share up to 3 months, sometimes less, but normally up to 3 months I'll give it just to do what I think it's going to do. And if it's not doing anything, I'll sell it, and I'll take the gain or the loss at that time. And the third reason I sell is if something fundamentally changes. And obviously something fundamentally changed with QBE back then. I didn't sell them back then. I probably would now. I'm a different trader now to 2001. Yeah, if something just fundamentally changes like that, like they had this huge payout, which they were part of, then that's a good enough reason to sell, copy your loss, and move on. Obviously, if you're diversified enough, it's not going to wipe you out. If you're holding 12, 14 stocks and one of them goes down by 70%, you're only losing about 5% of your capital. So it's not the end of the world. There's no way to trade the market risk-free. I wish there was. And if you know it, tell me. There's always risk. Everything we have in the market, could go down 70% overnight. If a disaster happened. If you can't accept that, then don't be trading. Yeah, really. Thanks for the question. It's a good one. I wish I could give you some credit, but I can't. So that's my feelings on it. The second question is from Thomas, and I had a chat to Thomas on Facebook about this, but this was the first thing he sent me. You seem to take a few snide digs at crypto. Why don't you just come out and say what you really think? Okay, thanks, Thomas. We actually had a bit of a chat, and we got on okay about it. He was reasonable to debate it with. Crypto. I do take an interest in crypto. I take an interest in markets in general. I love watching markets. I love the human psychology that drives markets. Call me strange, but the crypto market is interesting to watch for me. It's, in my opinion, a very naive market. A lot of naive people speculating in that market. Easy to take advantage of people, and there are people, I'm not in it, but there are people who are taking advantage of those naive investors and will continue to do that, be it legitimately through the markets or by scammers, and there's plenty of scammers involved in those markets because no regulation. They've got no fear of consequences, so the scammers are in there. The reason I don't like cryptos, I'm not a believer, I should have thought about this question a bit more before I answered. There's 2 main reasons. One is cryptocurrency is an ideology, and it's an ideology I don't believe. It's the ideology of anarchists and libertarians, and essentially they're similar types of people. They just don't believe in any government control whatsoever. Don't believe in regulation. Well, anarchists especially, no regulation. They want it completely free for all. Libertarians not so much, but they want very little regulation by governments, and I just don't agree with that. I think capitalism, which I guess is an ideology as well, but capitalism has proven to work. It's not perfect, and we've got to continually try to improve the current system. But I think, well, basically the Americans, the founding fathers of America, who invented this system of government, got it pretty right. A lot of people don't appreciate how good we have it in the countries that have followed the American system of government. which I shouldn't say American, because I guess they got it from the British. Really, it's probably the British system. Maybe the Americans just made it a little bit better. So I am a believer in the capitalist system. You can agree or disagree with that. So yeah, the first reason is it's an ideology. It's backed by people. It's pushed by people who I don't agree with. I don't agree with anarchy or libertarianism. The second reason that I am against crypto is because the idea, the thinking behind them, it just is completely impractical. It just will not work as a currency. They're finite. If we're talking just Bitcoin, let's just talk about Bitcoin, because there are different types of cryptos, obviously. But Bitcoin is finite, meaning there's only a certain number. I think is it 22 million? Only a certain number anyway that can be ever printed. That's not the word. But anyway, released to the market. I think there's around 16 million at the moment. So when something is finite and they're not making any more of them, the value goes up. So if the value of the currency goes up, then that's what people will want to own. I mean, why would you use your currency to buy something going down in value when the currency you use is going to go up in value? So what it will do is make people obviously hoard the currency. So there'll be no spending going on. People won't want to spend money, and it just won't work. It'll be deflationary. The only asset with any value will be the currency itself. And philosophically, that's not how money works. Money should be infinite. It goes against all economical and philosophical principles. I hope that makes sense. So we're placing too much emphasis on the actual currency and forgetting what money is, the idea of what money is. This exchange of value and a resource. So to make it finite and therefore make it deflationary makes no real world sense. It will just never work as a currency, because people will not spend it. They will hoard it. That is my opinion on cryptos. Okay, so next question is from Roberts. And Roberts asks, Darren, could you please do a vid about franking credits? Sure, Robert. Well, I can answer your question. It's fairly straightforward. Franking credits, and again, I'm not an accountant, so I'm giving my layman's perspective of what they are. Franking credits are the credit you get for the tax that the company has already paid, so that the earnings aren't taxed twice. So when you get your dividends from the company that you have shares in, if tax is paid on that money that you receive, then you get a franking credit, and that the company tax rate in Australia is 30%. I think it still is. So that money has already been taxed at 30%, so you will get credit for that, and when you do your own tax. So as an example, it depends on what your taxable income is, but if your taxable income is, say, below $20,000, where you don't actually have to pay any tax, then you'll get that franking credit back. So if you receive the dividend of $140 fully franked, then $60 tax has already been taken out, so you will receive that back. If, say, your income is higher than that and you're paying 37 cents in the dollar, then you may have to pay a little bit more tax on that money that you have received just to make it up to the 37 cents, but you will be credited that 30 cents that's already been paid. If you want to know more, just Google that sort of thing, and you might just get more information if you need to get your head around it. But just simply, it just means that tax has already been paid on that money. Sometimes it'll have a percentage, so it might be 50% franked, 70% franked, 30% franked. I mean, you really don't have to understand it it's for your accountant to information for your accountant to take on board when they're doing your tax. Yeah, 100% fully franked dividend is what a lot of investors are seeking, especially as you get older, and you'd rather that income come to you already taxed. It does have some benefits to it. So I hope that answers your question, Robert. But again, you could probably do better by Googling that sort of stuff, or even putting it into YouTube and getting a better explanation from maybe an accountant rather than me. Let me have a drink. Now, this next question is from Taylor, and I might make this the last one because I have been waffling on for quite some time in this video. So I had about 8 questions here, but we'll just leave it at this 4th question for now, and I might do another video in the next few days. So anyway, Taylor's question, and it's a loaded one. Being International Women's Day, how do you feel about the fact only 11 women CEOs are in the ASX 200? From Taylor, and that's Tayla, so I assume Taylor is a girl. Yes, that's a good question, Taylor, and it's almost one of these subjects that I don't want to get into because it can get people a bit fired up and emotional talking about this sort of stuff. A bit like religion and politics, perhaps should stay away from them on this channel. Not really my thing. But I will say this. I personally have absolutely no problem with female CEOs. If you've ever watched any of my videos, I've said on a number of occasions that REA is my favourite stock on the ASX, bar none. It is the best company in Australia, I think, my opinion, REA, and that has a female CEO in Tracy Fellows, who I think is fantastic. Probably the best CEO out there. Well, you know, she's up there with the best of them. So I have no issue when I'm evaluating a company, whether the CEO is female or male. I personally have no issue. You say there's 11, I'll take that on trust. I was trying to think of companies that had female CEOs, and I'm really battling. I know Coca-Cola has, Alison Watkins, I think her name is, and I know Genworth has, or at least did. I can't remember the lady's name. So out of the 200 companies, I can think of 3 female CEOs, and I guess it's not enough. 11 out of 200, but some of it is a societal problem. The pathways aren't there for women to reach that sort of position, and I think there's also, how do I say this? I think there's obviously, not obviously, but there is less ambition from women to take those positions. So the pool of people who want to be CEOs of these companies just has less women in it to choose from. I think the majority of people who reach that sort of status where they can run a big company like that are generally going to be men. And not saying that's right, but it's becoming a CEO of a company is not something you get overnight. You know, these are generally people who have a lifelong ambition and a lifelong experience to get to that point. And maybe men have it easier. You know, we don't have to, you know, have children, and we don't have that sort of burden on us. And, you know, maybe just naturally we're more aggressive and more ambitious to be leaders. And, you know, we can argue about that, but I do agree. 11 out of 200 just doesn't seem right at all. And you know, I think if you went back 50 years, I doubt there would have been even 11. So we have made progress in the last couple of generations, and I'm sure these things don't turn around overnight. I'm sure in future generations there will definitely be more women running companies. You know, society just has to keep pressing forward. And it will happen. It won't happen overnight, but it will happen. So yeah, good question, Taylor. I understand your point. It's probably not right having 11 women CEOs, but it's not going to be solved overnight. So just give it time. I think I'll leave it there, guys. That's I think this video's sort of run over 20 minutes already, which is quite a long one for me. I'm feeling way better today. I did that vid for the first couple of questions last night, and my brain was still a bit fuzzy, but I've had a great night's sleep and I'm feeling a lot better today. So yeah, hopefully I'll keep improving over the next few days, and we'll be good. Don't think there's much else I want to say on this vid. Nah, we'll leave it there. No worries, guys. Have a fantastic weekend, and I'll talk to you soon.